Hello, everyone, and welcome to High Vibe Time with Ashley and Teresa, raw and unfiltered.
Awesome.
Glad to have you here with us today. We are going to talk about something. When Ashley brought this up, I was like, oh, that's good. The stigma around woo woo.
Mhm.
Because there's such a stigma around it coming from all different directions. When you brought it up and I thought about it for myself, I thought there were so many different things that kept me from really tuning into my woo woo stuff.
Right.
And so I think it's significant for us to talk that about it because I know that I felt very isolated in the way that I felt because there was no one around me feeling the same way.
Mm.
And so it made me kind of shut it down. And so I think it's important that we kind of talk about the things and so that people that are listening won't feel like they're in it alone or won't feel like it's taboo. I really felt taboo to it, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah. And this idea, this thought came from a client of mine that is very woo-woo and has sort of been hesitant to explain out loud all the experiences that she's had. And and there's lots of us out there, right? And I brought it to you because I feel like if you're watching us on some level, you're wanting to learn about the stuff. You are not sure how it's going to fit into your life. And how do you sort of come out of, we called it the woo-woo closet at one time. How do you come out of that woo-woo closet? And I it was not as taboo with me growing up. And I've mentioned this before that we have Native American in our family, and my grandmother was very, um, you know, used herbs and oils and we had a spirit in the house, and it was just sort of it's just what it was. We had a spirit in the house, and it wasn't a big deal. And but we didn't necessarily go to the store talking about it either, right? So it's not like we didn't hang a sign on the door that said, but it wasn't, she was very spiritual and very woo woo. And I am in a career, I'm a college professor as my full-time job, and I'm in a career that's very research oriented and very not woo woo. And so I've had to myself figure out that balance between what I say, who I say it to, how I say it. Um, and what's interesting is out of all of the people, and granted, it's a very few people, I'll just say that I've said these things to, none of them have been like, "Are you serious?" Like, not in a condescending way. It's more of a, "Are you serious? Like, tell me more," And so I think once we start talking about it with others, there's more people out there that are curious about it than not. And so I think that's part of why we started this channel too, was to say, hey, we all started somewhere. Come join and come learn.
Hmm. Yeah, I agree. With me, it was more of my upbringing was a lot different in the fact that I did not have any of that interaction. In fact, I had almost the opposite of that in the fact that um, I was brought up very religious, and that's why I used the word taboo, because it was very taboo in the religious organization. And, it's really funny because when I first started, and there were many things that would shut me down, people saying, oh, that's impossible, you can't communicate with the other side, that it even I would even have things thrown at me that's in the Bible that talks about seeing into the, I don't know, because there's also seasayers in, because I bring that up, there's people that in the Bible that they talk about that actually foresee the future, or have visions, they talk about, but I would always have the ones thrown at me that was a bad thing to do, or it was a witchy, or I don't know, it just, and it would always shut it down.
Mhm.
And so it was really hard for me to start opening up. But once I was able to start opening up and shutting down getting my own freaking opinion was basically, what it came down to. Um, yeah, it was, I forgot where I was going with that, but it really is significant to understand that just because somebody else says, oh, I know where I was going with it. It was so deep in me that when I got started in doing this, I didn't even touch cards,
Mm-hmm.
which is I mean, if anyone knows me on here at all, I do every Sunday night, I do card readings now. So it's like a major part of what I do now. But cards, Oracle cards to me was like, oh, messing with a Ouija board. It was just, no, 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 you don't do it. And the thing that's so impactful to me in this situation is that cards and opening myself up has brought me so much enlightenment that I don't know what my world would be without it at this point.
Right.
And we're all entitled to it. And it's the things around us, like we both talked about, that kind of shut it down for whatever reason. But it's our birthright to have this instinctive gut feeling, be able to communicate with our loved ones and, our team and our higher self and all those things. We're entitled to that. And it's the outside influences most of the time that will shut it down.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's, my husband does not, I'll say stuff or he'll walk in and I'm watching a paranormal show, or I'll say, did you hear that? Or whatever the case may be. And he just looks at me because although I will say in the last little bit, he says things that I'm just like, just little things, like not too woo woo, but just woo woo enough that he wouldn't have said it 5 years ago, right? Like, oh, my gut's telling me that this is going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, really? Your gut's telling you? Oh, okay. There was another one the other day, and I can't remember it now. Oh, why are you putting that out in the atmosphere? Do you really want that energy? And I'm like, whoo, whoo, right? So it's once you sort of really take hold and get that confidence that that's something that you believe, and that you're really standing in it, the people around you will either start believing you or at least start or stop naysaying, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
they know that it's a wholehearted belief, right?
Right.
So um we I I have multiple experiences throughout my life looking back at it. At the time, I I see my journey I look back, I wish I would have known all this, whatever, 10 years ago or 15 years ago. But that wasn't the journey that I was supposed to be on. I wasn't ready to be open to all this back then. But now looking back on it, there's so many experiences that I had that I'm like, that makes so much more sense now, because I'm more open to, you know, messages from the other side, or my intuition, or whatever it is, and more open to that, because I wasn't ready then.
Hmm. Right, right. And I do believe that it comes in the time, exactly the timing that we need it to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the one other thing that I wanted to just touch base on, because this has actually happened with me, is that at times there can be circumstances that you go through in your lifetime that you yourself choose to shut down this instinct.
Oh, absolutely.
And it wasn't so much that I chose to shut it down, it was that something was happening right in front of me that I didn't see. And so it made me question myself, to the point of, if I can't see something right in front of me, how am I going to see something, or, really trust in something that I am not able to see,
Right.
and so it can be put on us by other people or by ourselves, intentionally, but put on ourselves by ourselves. But I truly believe that it is open, that gift comes open and comes back to us when we're ready to receive it and ready
Mhm.
in our life to get it. Because had it been open back there when I was going through all the trauma that I was going through at that time, I wouldn't have been there would be too much noise around me
Right.
to even center anyway. And so
Mhm.
the other side knows what's best for us, and so they start to open those things up when it's time to open them up. But when it is time to open up, we don't want anyone to feel like they're, because I there are times that I truly felt like I was crazy,
Mhm.
because I would get, I'd get a feeling, because I started playing with it, like playing with my phone, and I think we've talked about this, just getting, like guessing who's calling, or and I would start with that, and then I would start, and then I would go to what are they going to say, or what are they going to talk about. Excuse me. And it would start blowing my mind, the more and more I was right. I was just like, oh my gosh, it's just amazing to watch it open up and build like that.
Right. And if you're a person who is starting to question things like, did I really hear that? Did I really feel that? Did I really see that? Um, using your intuition. I just want to say you were in the right place with this channel. Come join us over in our Facebook groups. Teresa has one, I have one, and we're not a whole lot of woo woo over there, but we do mention it every once in a while. And we do have programs. Teresa and I do programs occasionally that are centered around that kind of stuff. But um, find people who, whether it's us or somebody else, that you resonate with, that you feel comfortable with, saying, hey, I have this going on. What are your thoughts about it? Because if you are not sharing and you're worried about what others think, find somebody that you feel comfortable with sharing, which is why we created this space, was for you to feel comfortable. And say, hey, I had this experience, is this XYZ? And that's which is exactly what my client did. Say, hey, I have had these experiences, please don't think I'm nuts. No, I absolutely don't think you're nuts. I think you have got special gifts and it's fabulous, and let's, that kind of thing. Don't be scared of them. So don't be scared of these things that you're seeing or hearing, or um experiencing. When we sort of open ourselves up, and I just as much as we heal ourselves, like peeling back layers of an onion, I feel like it's the same way with I call them gifts. I know we all have them, but I still call them gifts because they are so special to me. But as we sort of open up and get deeper and deeper, we sort of experience different things. And sometimes I'm like, Teresa, this just happened. I'm not sure. And she's like, oh yeah, I mean, I felt into it, and and it's just good to have somebody to bounce those things off of, and those experiences off of, and talk about them.
Yeah, I agree. And, I have to mention, we don't talk about our groups very often, but in this particular case, I want to say that, if opening up to this ability and doing this is something that you want to do, the biggest thing that you have to do first is get the noise or the emotional things kind of calm down, and that's the kind of things that we work on in our group.
That's so true.
um, I would never be able to be in the place that I am right now had I not gone through the healing and the emotional stuff that I went through to get to where I'm at, to where I'm able to hear that stuff. Because a lot of times we go through so much that there's so much in our head and the other side knows it. And so they don't they don't waste the energy. And I don't mean that in a rude way, but they don't
Right.
waste the energy until they know that you're in a place where you can absorb it. So if you're at a spot where you want to build that, or you want to try to clear away some of the noise that's in the background, that's where one of our groups comes in very handy to help with that, which can then in turn help you build this
Right.
strength and this knowing, because it helps shut out some of that noise.
Or both groups, because there's a lot of people that are in both groups. So y'all can just come
Oh,
join both
yes,
groups.
absolutely. Absolutely.
And those are linked in the description. So if you're interested, make sure you click on those and come over. Um, let's just leave it there today. We can pick this back up if we feel like we need to, but I just want to invite anybody that's watching that is nervous or concerned or whatever, however you're feeling about it. Maybe you're ready to hang a sign on the front door and say, hey, that's great. But my guess is many people who are watching, they're just now really sort of being opened up to this sort of stuff. Welcome. We welcome you. You are safe here. We support you. You are not crazy. You are not nuts. You are not going through a midlife crisis. I mean, you may be, but it's not about this probably. So like we welcome you. Thank you for being here. Keep watching and let us know how you feel about it. And on our in our groups, there's emails, or you can email us, or you can send us a direct message on there as well. If you don't feel like typing it into the YouTube comments, I totally get that. Feel free to send us a message, and we'll get back to you for sure. I do have one. I have a card, and what's interesting is the card is speaking.
Mm.
The card is speaking, and I hadn't even read it. But what came to me whenever I pulled this card was that it's almost like spirit is speaking to you to tell you that you're in the right place and to sit with yourself in quiet and see and listen and see what's being spoken to you surrounding this. Because if you are nervous, especially if you want to talk to people about it, sit with it, sit still, get quiet, ask, how should I go about this, and see if you can get some answers um, from your team or whoever comes through to you about this topic. Did you get anything off this card?
Um, just the very first thing I got when I saw it was just being able to actually speak what you feel and your truth, and not being persuaded by other people's opinions, or the way they feel. You talked about it earlier. My mom still doesn't understand or get. She comes from that generation. And so there are people out there that just aren't going to understand it, but be able to speak what you feel, and speaking what you feel is right for you. And that's okay, because we're all unique and different, and
Right.
so and go through different phases. So yeah.
Yeah. Okay, everybody. I hope this was helpful. I hope this was insightful. And don't forget to subscribe and like, make comments, or feel free to jump over to Facebook and find us over there. And feel free to send us a direct message if you have any questions. And I hope you have a great week.
Bye, everyone.